concluded that the garage door pull, which had been there since last fall, was obviously not targeted at a specific individual because, in fact, it was a garage pull, and in fact, it was there since last fall, long before these 43 teams arrived. And it was concluded by the FBI that this was, quote, not an intentional racist act.
For clarity, I'm asking you about the Confederate flags. My question is, why is the president so supportive of flying the Confederate flag?
The president never said that. Again, you're taking his tweet completely out of context.
The president said that NASCAR saw bad ratings because they took down the Confederate flag, banned the Confederate flag. Does he believe NASCAR should fly the Confederate flag, and why don't they fly it here?
The whole point of the tweet was to note the incident, the alleged hate crime, that it, in fact, was not a hate crime. At the very end, the ban on the flag was mentioned in the broader context of the fact that he rejects this notion that somehow NASCAR men and women who go to these sporting events are racist, when in fact, as it turns out, what we saw with the FBI report and the alleged incident of a hate crime, it was a complete indictment of the media's rush to judgment, once again calling this a hate crime when the FBI completely dismissed that.
Let me ask you about some of the president's comments this weekend. The president said that 99% of coronavirus cases are totally harmless. Which members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force agree with that statement?
So what the president was pointing to, and I'm glad you brought it up, was a factual statement, one that is rooted in science, and one that was pointing out the fact that mortality in this country is very low. And I have two charts that we'll pull up to illustrate that. The first chart is the case fatality rate in the United States. And as you can see, the mortality rate has gone like this, the case fatality rate. And also in the second chart, you'll see, hopefully they have it up behind me, but the case rate fatality rate in this country vis-a-vis other European countries is much lower than, let's say, France and Italy. And what that speaks to is the great work of this administration with therapeutics and remdesivir and dexamethasone, and that's what the president was pointing out.
So I want to get back to just to follow up quickly, though. So if you don't die, is it not harmless?
The president was noting the fact that the vast majority of Americans who contract coronavirus will come out on the other side of this. Of course, he takes this very seriously. Of course, no one wants to see anyone in this country contract COVID, which is why the administration has fought hard to make sure that's not the case with our historic response effort. John.
Kayleigh, to follow up on Peter's question, what is the president's position? Does he think NASCAR made a mistake by banning the Confederate flag?
So he said I spoke to him this morning about this, and he said he was not making a judgment one way or the other. The intent of the tweet was to stand up for the men and women of NASCAR and the fans and those who have gone in this rush to judgment of the media to call something a hate crime when in fact the FBI report concluded this was not an intentional racist act. And it very much mirrors other times when there have been a rush to judgment, let's say with the Covington boys or with Jesse Smollett.
But let's drill down on the Confederate flag. Does he think it was a mistake for NASCAR to ban it?
The president said he wasn't making a judgment one way or the other. You're focusing on one word at the very bottom of a tweet that's completely taken out of context and neglecting the complete rush to judgment.
Wasn't he saying that NASCAR's ratings are down because they banned the flag? That's what he said.
The president was noting the fact that in aggregate, this notion that NASCAR men and women who have gone and who are being demeaned and called racist and being accused in some venues of committing a hate crime against an individual, those allegations were just dead wrong.
Does he think his supporters should not take the flag to Trump rallies? Has he considered banning the Confederate flag from Trump rallies?
Well, at Trump rallies, all flags that are not official campaign gear are banned. Yes.
Kayleigh, why is it Bubba Wallace's responsibility to apologize for an investigation into a noose that he didn't report and he never even saw? It was NASCAR that found this, that reported this, and even the FBI referred to it as a noose, even if they said it wasn't a specific crime against Mr. Wallace. Why is the president even suggesting that Mr. Wallace should apologize?
Well, look, the FBI, as I noted, concluded that this was not a hate crime, and he believes it'd go a long way if Bubba came out and acknowledged that as well. This was not a hate crime as noted by the FBI.
He's been very clear that the FBI found this was not intentional. Why is he directing this at Mr. Wallace?
So one of the things that's this is where the president comes from, and this is where the president stands. And he actually hinted at this in his July 4th speech to those in the media who falsely and consistently label their opponents as racist, who condemn patriotic citizens, who offer a clear and truthful defense of American unity. We want a clear and faithful defense of American history and unity. And when you level file false charges, you not only slander me, you slander the American people. He believes the American
It was
people
an
are
open
good.
investigation,
And the
Kayleigh, into a
allegations
noose.
and the
The
rush
FBI
to
said it was
judgment
a
with
noose.
Jesse Smollett and the Bubba Wallace case and with the Covington Catholic boys, we shouldn't be so quick to jump onto those narratives. Those are just three examples of those that have been proven
For an
false.
investigation that someone
Yes.
else initiated, suggesting he was possibly the victim of a hate crime?
Yes.
The governor of South Dakota, who